Welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. This is a movie week, and I have to admit, I've been waiting to see this for a while. This is Baron Munchausen. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, with John Neville, Uma Thurman, and Eric Idle. I'm hopeful for this. This sounds like my kind of story. So I will take a look at this and see you on the other side for thoughts and inspirations. That, I would say, I gotta give that an 8.6 out of an 8.9. I really enjoyed this. I mean, one of the things I really liked about it is it's got that mix of folk legend and Paul Bunyan and those types of stories, but it's also got the hero. It's a type of hero we don't see a lot in pop culture anymore. It's a hero who succeeds because he recognizes the talents of others to be able to achieve things, and organizes them to make a difference together. It's not the guy who's the good at everything, doesn't need anybody's help, single-handedly rescues the world kind of thing. It's, I mean, literally the only thing Munchausen has in this is not giving up. It's always the talents of the people he's surrounded himself with that make the difference. And so it's a type of hero. I mean, we have those types of things in things like Harry Potter, where Harry Potter really doesn't do anything extraordinary. It's because he's surrounded himself with people who care for him and direct their own talents towards a common goal together, and he gets that loyalty and friendship from them. That's what I want to see more of in heroic stories. Not so much the guy who's the super competent, always right, manages to save the day by himself kind of person. Anyway, that aside, the ideas that this inspires. The little girl, during the course of this story, she sort of becomes a member of the group, and her talent that she brings to the group is, in a way, a very good mirror of Munchausen's. She basically has the ability to see the talents of others and the ability for them to persevere and make it through the day. It's the cheering on others and seeing their value to the cause. And I think I would very much like to see a story of that little girl becoming a Munchausen-like character, where she goes on her own adventures and she has her own sidekicks, maybe not sidekicks, but partners in those adventures whose talents she recognizes and tells them how valuable they could be to a cause that they work together for. I want to see that story. The idea that the characters were heroes of legend once before and now they're old and they don't really have, like, the guy who's hearing could hear things from miles away. He needs an ear horn to hear the guy sitting next to him now. I like the idea of people who have gotten old and less capable than they were when they were younger, but they don't give up. They're still determined, and they're heroic in their determination to go through with it, and maybe tell a story of how they may not have their same talents, but their determination is inspirational to those who can aid the cause. I have this sense of the story I mean, the story is the sort of allegorical tales of sort of mythology approach to things, but it's done as a sort of satirical take on it. But it makes me think of a way we might encounter a world exactly like that. And I can't help but think that with virtual reality and the soon, within maybe our lifetimes or the next lifetime out, the idea to have a virtual reality near indistinguishable from reality, a sort of Star Trek holodeck kind of thing. And so taking that idea, I can imagine a world where the virtual world is a series of allegories and folk tales and stuff like that, where the main character has to walk through in order to save the people who are in the Matrix, or whatever it is. And in order to do that, he travels through this realm of allegorical tales and whatnot, and gets towards the core to unlock or resolve whatever conflict is in that realm and set the people free from that allegory. But I don't know if I kind of like the idea of that allegorical world with I like that fairy tale storytelling setting. And I hate the idea of solving it so they can escape it. I want it to be owned. I want them to be able to take it for themselves, make it their own world. Okay, people who've found a way to separate their heads from their bodies, there's something like that in here. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it's used kind of to imply that the head becomes unfeeling and cruel, and the body is over emotional and savage. And it plays this back and forth, and I think what I would rather have seen done with that is taking the idea of separating the head and the body, and you have this sort of logical, emotionally detached, but not cruel, just machine-like thinking, forgetting what it's like to be human. And so I'd like to, instead of literally separating one's head from their body, I can see, again, going into the realm of immersive VR and having the ability to set up a small cell that'll keep your body alive indefinitely, and jacking in your head to virtual reality, and being in that place where you forget what it's like to have to eat, what it's like to touch another human being in person, to know the vulnerability of being flesh rather than a near godlike being in a virtual reality setting. And so that forgetfulness of the human condition could lead somebody to become kind of Vulcan, purely logical, making no exceptions for the empathy towards another being, just logical. And the disconnect that can create in a person, where they're all logic and no feeling. A modern style superhero story told in the age of reason. Okay, this one's gonna take a little explaining to do, but I mean, it strikes me that this is a superhero story. It's about people with unusual talents in a team working together in a land of conflict and adventure. So, taking the kind of Justice League or X-Men kind of storylines and having those unusual people with strange abilities showing up in a fantasy setting and being this kind of story, like Baron Munchausen kinds of stories, but with the storytelling style of the comic book superhero setting. A little less comedic, a little less fairy tale. This one, based on this story, they do things in here that are... Physics doesn't work that way. And I'm fine with that being in this story. What I'm trying to say is, our physics doesn't work that way. The physics of Tom and Jerry, of The Simpsons, cartoon characters in general, have a world in which physics doesn't work the way you want it to, or it doesn't always make sense, but it happens that way. And that's what some of the things that happen in here are. And I got the idea that it would be interesting to do sort of like a cartoon characters from Toontown, exploring the history of where their physics-defying nature comes from, and it's sort of the moment where certain people departed from the real world and became legends, and so the legacy of folktale heroes departing how the real world works is the origin of the cartoon people. It's sort of like an evolution of that kind of thing, and it would be hard to do that, I think, in a way that doesn't sound like over analytical, but it's that sense of how to make cartoons sort of like genetic cousins of humans, and go back to a point where that magic split between legendary beings and humans happen, and that departure causes just sort of a moment in history where we get these folk tales that are half cartoon and half human stories. Well, I think I've been rambling here for a bit, so I'll cut it here, but hopefully there's some ideas in there. I know I'm going to pursue some of these, so I'll see you for the next episode.